Christian, Syrian, Rohingya, or Burma majority Buddhist. This doesn't concern me. I give you this example because migrations is an issue where every time I do participate in a debate, see passions, ideologies, religions coming instead of rationality and search for solutions. This is what I try to offer to your attention. I don't know whether or not I will succeed, but I try. An example of that came from the speech of Adam Lütke when he remembered about Brexit how the vote was ideological and distinctive, and the result is not positive for the ones who voted for the exiting, because they will not have success with that. They had more staying in the union than out of the union. This was the thesis. So the vote was irrational. Now, the present-day European political problem with immigrants and those requesting international protection, fleeing from countries like Syria, Iraq, Eritrea, Afghanistan, in my opinion, is due mainly to three factors. Those who request protection are too many in number. I said before, don't talk ideologically about troubles. The scale changed the phenomenon. So they are too many and too much concentrated. And too much concentrated in certain parts of Europe. They are not distributed. The second question results, as I said, that too many of them are Muslims, and the Islam is perceived in the way we already analyzed. Third factor of the refuse or of the hesitation is that they are an effect of the wrong words of Bush administration, the refugees. Many Europeans question why should they pay the political and social bill of the disasters made by the American stupid foreign policy. Iraqis, Afghanistan, Eritrea, those countries were all touched by American politics. With Europeans say, don't do that, you are going to a mess, you create a mess, then the Americans go home and they come to Europe. This is the perception. The Americas and the EU now share the historical upheaval of a migration of people. This is the other issue, not belonging anymore to the same civilization. When the Italians came here, they were Catholic, and already they had troubles with Protestants. Remember John Kennedy campaigning and the troubles he had in being elected. Imagine when you are not even part of Christianity. We in Europe were in a way, happy that Bulgarians and the Romanians came in because the percentage of Orthodox grew up and the percentage of Islamic went down. Imagine. Why that? This may be a source of future conflicts. I'm not evoking terrorism. Terrorism is an exception. Social conflicts may be the rule, and all of you understand the difference in what I'm saying. I wish to quote a progressive, as it used to say nowadays, Helmut Schmidt, brilliant chancellor coming from Social Democratic Party, SPD of Germany. He made a conference in 1997 on globalization. He was a doctor, he was a brilliant guy. And at a certain moment he says, today, quotation, today about 7 million foreigners are living in Germany. Perhaps they will represent the culture medium of future conflicts. Is a progressive, so it doesn't say too strong word. But culture medium of future conflicts mean we are going to have conflicts in future because of that. Take care, manage. He doesn't say refuse them. No, he say we have to manage the issue. Helmut Schmidt, 1997. If we look at the issues erupting from our debates, We understand that the accent has been put by the speakers using different approaches and consequent models of a list of way of looking to migrations. Economic interest. Migrants are an economic issue, so persons, companies, the states are touched by that. Social imbalances among different social streams, how to integrate socially the immigrants. Ethnical and religious identities, we have said some, I don't need to be back on that. States' power, we said not too much on that. At the end today, some talked about. The states should rule. Yes, they should. Have they enough power? Are they ready to cooperate with others? Otherwise, it's ineffective. Criminality and criminal powers has also been recalled. Problem, sometimes criminality is linked with states, not only with failed or with rogue states, even with part of the so-called democratic states. Italy is going to have elections next March. Immigration will be an issue in campaigning. Certain political forces exist and are strong because of that. In case Italy will have a populist government, it will go to the long list of government as Austria, UK, Holland, Hungary, and others, where the issue of migration has been linked by the electorate to the immigration. At the end of the day, what we say here is not so much important. What does count is the polls, the votes. This is the decisive element in our society. If the immigration is a conflictive issue in internal level, it is conflictive issue also in international level. Look at the situation in European Union. UK left EU because of that, no doubt. Don't forget that Brits had another referendum and they voted for staying in European Union. This time the new issue, all the rest was old stuff. But the new issue was immigration, and they voted to leave. European Union nowadays could be also depicted as a group of Visegrad countries against immigration and the others. This is a splitting. In international politics, we may in future have also kind of divisions based on this issue. This is a problem. The question is, the rational question is it true that the poor million of migrants and claimers for international protection are the source of the political risk attacking the institutions and governments in so many countries? Or another way of raising the matter, migrants and international protection seekers are themselves an effect of certain convergent negative facts? I propend for the second. Immigrants are victims of 5 elements which affected international relations in the recent decades. First element, social and economical injustice spread after realizing Reaganomics and Thatcheromics. The effects of those policies created an horrible imbalances of wealth in the world. You are aware that nowadays 1% of world population is owing more than 50% of world wealth, and the others take the rest. This is fundamental injustice, and consequences are produced. 80 persons own 80 persons own what 3.5 billion of human beings own. 3.5 billion and 80. Is that a balance? 1 billion persons may spend in a day $1.25. This is what they have, their wealth. I quoted only 3 numbers to fix in your memory what means excess of social injustice and crazy wealth distribution in the world. It's obvious that migrations appear in these conditions. What should people do? Kill itself? Second element, global climate change set conditions for killing or spreading diseases through an immense part of populations in sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East, Central Asia. Once again, the answer is we have to move from here in order to survive. Third, the dissolution of bipolar system on one side made to seize the capability of the international system to control and manage the crisis. Syria is an example. When Syria was under Soviet Union, he couldn't move. On the other side, gave it free hands, free dirty hands, I would say, to Russia and US. Look at Ukraine, look at Iraq as an examples. This would have not happened in bipolar systems. So, free hands to act illegally, using violence in short term and living in long term bleeding wounds of migrants and international protection seekers. Fourth phenomenon which generates migrations as first victims of the situation. Globalization had good and bad results. It happens with everything in our life. Goods was that, for instance, China and India could exit their underdevelopment. Bad that EU and especially some Southern European countries, look at Greece, look also to Italy, had to pay the bill of American financial adventures and misconduct from 2008 on. Fifth point, diminishing solidarity among the nations as a consequence of the diminishing importance of international alliances and of the systemic ruling of the world. UN system suffered setbacks. Look at the exit of USA from UNESCO a few weeks ago. Look at the International Court of Justice situation. Other international cooperation, as European Union, for instance, suffered also a diminishing institutional and decisional role. Solutions, and I come to the end, be calm. No solution can be carried on in the aftermath of our conference whether no structural change occurs in international affairs. Many changes can instead be carried on whether public opinions wake up from their sleeping beauty to long season. I read widespread culture of indifference and exclusion from Father Alexander. Well, this is what I intend as sleeping beauty. Public opinion has to understand that without the political change, all of us, we need a very black future is waiting for us. I show you demographic tendencies, for instance. Who will manage that? Migration trouble season is part of the unsustainability of the present international system. Anarchism is back. Bullying is practiced. States, not only terrorists, the states practice bullying. UN and other international agents, including EU, lose powers, as we said. An international and systemic matter as migrations and international protection cannot be solved at national level. This is a blatant and evident contradiction which may be solved only being back to an international systemic approach. Migrations are international phenomenon. How could the states by themselves handle it? It's a universal problem. This will result in sending up true policies for development, peace and justice in developing countries, Sub-Saharan Africa and Middle East and Central Asia, first of all, which are the focus of the present-day migration crisis. A huge transfer of wealth to developing world is needed with the assistance of northern countries and international agencies. At the same time, global policies to contrast global warming have to be carried on. Sincerely, no alternative is possible in my mind. I showed during my speech the chart of how world population will be in 20, 50 years from now. That mass of billion young women and men needs answers which have to be produced right now, and it's already late. With very few exceptions, states and the nationalists may only express a negative answer to the above. They will refuse in principle any support for developing countries. They will be against migrations. They will accept the migrants they need in accordance with the businesses' needs. Accept the few of asylum seekers which will save their face and souls. No more than that. Ask yourself, why the more fierce enemies of European Union are the same enemies of migrants and of international protection seekers? Simply because at the national level, those forces will have the free, dirty, I insist, hands, which wouldn't be permitted at the European Union level. This is true for Europe. It is the same at systemic global level. Thanks for your patient listening.